Okay, so you're God.
Yes.
As in God.
Right.
Old Testament, Tower of Babel, burning bush, 10 Commandments. God.
Well, I come off a little friendlier in the New Testament and the Quran, but yeah, same God.
And I'm supposed to believe you because...
Because you have a feeling.
The idea for Joan of Arcadia came to me when I was working on Judging Amy. I was really happy on that show, and I really didn't want to leave unless I could think of something that was really challenging and unusual and scared me a little, in fact. And one of the things that I was thinking of was because I had a preteen daughter, I was thinking of the Joan of Arc story. And just trying to imagine what it would be like if a modern teenager had a calling like that, and what it would look like, and trying to modernize that story and dramatize it. When I first started thinking of it, I was thinking of it for about 3 years before I pitched it. And one of the things that led up to it was I had done an episode of Chicago Hope in which Peter McNichol's character comes back from the dead, basically, and is able to answer questions about the afterlife. And I had so much fun doing that I decided, wouldn't that be a fun thing to do every week? So I started talking about it in various forms with my agent about 3 years before I pitched it, and he just kept saying, why don't we put that one aside for a little while? But it wouldn't go away. I couldn't stop thinking about it. And during that time, it really began to take shape and did become more of the modern-day Joan of Arc story. By the time I went out to pitch it, it was post-September 11th, and a lot had changed in the atmosphere throughout the country, but certainly in Hollywood, and there was something going on where people were more open to the ideas of spirituality and ontological issues. And so by the time I pitched it, it was fairly readily received by CBS.
How about you believe me if I agree to overlook that promise you didn't keep?
What promise?
Let's see, that you'd study hard, stop talking back, clean your room, and even go to church, if I recall, if I let your brother live.
Well, I think 9/11 certainly changed people's perspectives on their place in the world. I think up until then, we as members of the United States living in America felt connected and protected from all that was going on in the world. And 9/11 certainly made us question how protected we were and made us try to find a more spiritual foundation, or at least start asking questions about what else is there. I think that pre-9/11, this show would have been either turned into something much more saccharine or not even paid attention to.
I care about everybody so much. Why can't you help them?
Hey, I'll do my job and you do yours.
Mine is confusing. I thought I was supposed to help Mother, and now I'm supposed to help Rocky. Where does it end?
It doesn't.
The idea of shows with a religious nature or spiritual nature were not new to CBS because of Touched by an Angel, but a lot of time passed, actually, between Touched by an Angel and my pitching this, and the atmosphere of television was very different. And in fact, there was a real edict at the time that it could not be like Touched by an Angel. It wasn't going to be that kind of show. It was going to be tonally very, very different. And so it wasn't as if I came in on the coattails of that. There was some resistance because of that, in a way, because that had been done, and it had been done years before, and this had to have a new patina to it. It had to be a different version.
God is doing the news?
I know. You thought you were done after the last time we spoke. You hoped it was an isolated instance of mental breakdown and that your life would just return to normal.
Yeah, well, I'm talking to the television, so normal works for me.
First of all, the first thing that the show was saying is that God exists. It wasn't an angel. It wasn't a messenger of God. It was actual God. And that was just the easy part. From there, you had to explain how God works in people's lives and what he would and wouldn't say. And it was a tall order. The pilot was shot, and we made a presentation, actually, because we were one of the last pilots ordered, so we just shot a 20-minute presentation. And then, it was the same process that every pilot goes through. We were one of the shows in the running for the fall schedule.
I knew there was something to this pilot when I read the script. It just spoke to me on a lot of different levels. It spoke to me in its humanity. It spoke to me in its intelligent questioning of spirituality. It spoke to me in the way that you could meld spirituality and science, that they all are sort of after the same answers, of which there are none, that it's a story of questions. And then when I saw the pilot, or the presentation, and I saw Joe Mantegna, and I saw Mary Steenburgen, and Jason Ritter, and Michael Welsh, but especially when I saw Amber Tamlin, then I thought, oh, this is a wonderfully unique opportunity to make good television.
I don't look like this. I don't look like anything you'd recognize. You can't see me. I don't sound like this. I don't sound like anything you'd recognize. You see, I'm beyond your experience.
By the time I wrote the pilot, I knew who the characters were. There were a couple of things that I always knew about this family. One was that Joan had to be a completely typical teenager. She had to be average in every way, even down to the fact that she had to be an average student. She couldn't be an exceptional student in any way. And I knew that her father was going to be a character who did not have a spiritual life, who was not a believer, but who had a very strong sense of right and wrong. And that's why I made him a cop, because I really wanted him to move in a very clear world of right and wrong and good and evil, if you will. And my decision was to make him the physical warrior and to make Joan the metaphysical warrior. And I was really interested in exploring the inner life of a character who is very driven by a sense of morality, but it doesn't have anything to do with God, because that was something that I think about a lot, and certainly we saw a lot of it during September 11th, for example. And then I always knew that I wanted the character of Helen to be more open to spirituality, and because she was, it would create a problem in the family. She would eventually be more likely to understand and be open to what Joan's going through, but it would create a sort of divisive nature between her and Will.
Kevin! Luke! Dinner!
No Joan?
No, she's babysitting her latest enterprise. Do you think she's saving up for a tattoo or something?
Nothing would surprise me.
I really love The Impossible Task, and I really feel that I had found it at that time. But halfway through writing it, I literally picked up the phone to call the network and say, let's not do this, because I know what it is, but I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know how we're going to do this every week. And then I just decided that was none of my business, and it was my job to finish the pilot and see what happened. But that was how I felt when it was greenlit.
I think that we all were drawn to the potential for a show about a family that was struggling with real problems and were working through them.
Talking to your mother when you're 16, I mean, even the good ones is creepy, okay? You know, ugh. Ugh?
I think that the potential for spiritual exploration is really high on all our actors' lists, so I think that drew them to this. And also, I just think it's a really smartly written show.
I've never seen a production so jinxed in a way. We had a million things go wrong. At times I just felt like, okay, this is really problematic trying to shoot 20 minutes of film, or actually video. But it was just completely unstoppable. Every obstacle was overcome. So it was a really interesting process.